The idea of death is dead.
With the name?
Spirit Talk with your host, Fox.
Welcome to Spirit Talk. I'm your host, Fox, along with my co-host, Kaylee, and we are part of a paranormal group known as Spirit Investigators. And do we have a fascinating show for you tonight as we explore the spirit world, Bigfoot, supernatural abilities, and other paranormal topics with five-time coast-to-coast guest, Red Elk. Red Elk is a Native American medicine man and one of 12 elders of the Inner Heyokah. He is a spiritual leader, speaker, and author of the newly published book, Short Stories, The Tellings of a Medicine Man by Red Elk. Red Elk, welcome to Spirit Talk. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Good to hear. So you're out of Washington, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, in central Washington. Just about the middle of the state.
Today joining us is Kaylee. She's one of our psychic intuitives from the paranormal group we're part of.
Hello, Red Elk.
Hello, my sister.
And hello, everyone else listening out there.
Okay, Red Elk, why don't we start off with your background and some of the groups you're involved with?
Yeah, I'm part of the Inner Heyokah, and I'm also a Heyokah. Heyokas and Inner Heyokas are regarded in the Native American world as clowns. And but Inner Heyokah does not do things traditionally. We can, but only on orders from the Creator. We are all 12 of us, so it might be 11. I think one might have passed, but I'll say 12. Have been connected with God in our way, in our teaching. And it's not traditional. It's just shutting your eyes, talking the old man topside, and doing what he tells you after you check it 3 times. And I can do the same thing that the Standard Heyokah, which is an elite group, do, but they do theirs through rote. Years of sitting at medicine people's feet, take them out into the wilderness or whatnot and show them the different plants, what it does, when to pick, so on and so forth. Well, I don't have that kind of knowledge, but he does. And if he wants me to do it in a traditional manner, then he tells me where to go and what plant to get, and I go and I get, and then he tells me how to fix it. So I'm a lot luckier than they are.
Right. In your book, it reads medicine man. Is there a distinction between a medicine man and a shaman?
Certainly. They're all the same. But the word shaman is the word of the Russian steppes, medicine man. But people have nailed on that one word, and anything different other than their standard learning, which is not true. I'm not a voodooist. I'm not a sorcerer, or so on and so forth. Many, let's put it that way, many of them are. And it's all lumped sum under the word shaman, which is really unfair. And medicine man is a medicine man of South and all of North America. And shamans are shamans of the Russian steppes, actually. But again, it's just one word glued onto everybody that is different.
Would you say the shamanism involves more of the sacraments and involving in rituals that may involve psychedelics?
No, I wouldn't. There's very few of us that do. In South America, that's another story. But that's a misconception. I've never, ever gotten on drugs, deliberate like peyote and so forth, marijuana and all that. It's just not necessary. In the Inner Heyokah way, we learn to do everything, get high if you want, but through the way of purity, one-on-one with the Creator.
Right, but it is accepted as part of the Native American church, and they can use it legally as part of their sacrament.
Call them sacraments if you want. I simply call it kind of a cop-out, but they're happy with it, and there's nothing against it. But I know a roadman, which is a traveling preacher, if you want, of that kind of a religion. Use of peyote and stuff. And he wanted me to go to a church meeting, more or less what you would call church meeting. And I said, yeah, I'll be glad to go, but I know the rules, and I'm not going to take any of your stuff. But the basic rule is simply stay awake, all night long. And I said, I can get all the highs, all the things you're seeing, I can get without once using that stuff. Well, it never came about. I didn't end up going.
I wanted to get into some of the experiences you've had with Bigfoot.
Well, I've never ran into Bigfoot personally. I'd gone out to the back of my property I was on, 160, 80 acres, way out in the boonies. And the day before, quite late in the day, and walked the trail. I was to go out with a young man and wife to pick a Christmas tree and haul it out by auction. And so I was out scouting and walking on this muddy path that was, I don't know, at best 4.5 foot wide here and there. But anyway, no problem. I went out there. I came back. I knew I was going to go the next day when they showed up. And they did, and we headed out. I hooked up my little ox, and we headed out for a trek using the same identical trail. And this time, though, it had rained overnight, and it was rather slippery and muddy. And this time, though, right in the middle of that track was a Bigfoot imprint. And it had stepped down off a high embankment, 1 foot on the path, cross-legged evidently, and kept going down the other embankment. And,
how big would you say it was, Red Elk, the footprint?
Well, I would say his footprints were 22 inches wide, or long rather.
Wow.
And it's quite an experience, but that's the closest I personally gotten to a Bigfoot. Me. My 2 grandsons, on the other hand, we have a 10-acre piece of property up by Canada in Washington State, and they ran into, Matt and Sky ran into one, the big one, and Sky got so interested, he went back the next day and saw 3. It was apparently a boy and a girl, or young man, young woman, and I don't think they were married. And they were spooning and asleep, and probably just spooning to keep warm. And he hid in the bushes just watching them. And suddenly he said, Grandpa, I didn't feel right. And I looked around. I felt like I was being watched. Well, there beyond that tiny little clearing was that great big one, old Papa or whatever, watching him. He said, I did what you told me to do. I did not show my teeth, and a sign of aggression until they get to know you better. And I didn't jump up and run. He said, I just stood up casually, or normally, he said, and turned around and slowly walked off till I got to the road. Then I ran.
Would you say that their descriptions, their physical descriptions, fit other reports as far as height?
Well, yeah. And when they're born and very, very young, they are very human-like. They don't grow hair like the Sasquatch people report. They are more like almost hairless teenager or young teenager. Well, not even teens. And then they start growing their hair and becoming what is often reported.
Where would you say they predominate in?
Well, there's certain areas in this state, and one of those is literally up there by my property. There's a kind of a mountain. People call them mountains, and I don't. I call them tall hills. But the Indians, the Colville Indians, know the spot, and a few of the other nations around there, and they'll go up there and hunt all during the day. Not a problem. But when the sun is going to come down, they come down. They get out of there because they know that they're in an encampment, a village-like or a community of Bigfoot. So they won't. They don't stick around at night. They get out of there, and that's probably, to my knowledge, the biggest concentration of all at once of Bigfoot in this state. There might be more, but I don't know of any. They're generally who move about. I've heard they migrate. They're not animals. They don't migrate, but they do go visit, and they go out looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend to get married to, like anybody does. And they're just out there looking. And or they will travel with the seasons, like salmon and elk at some time, and deer will go down and move around and move to other areas as weather changes and stuff. And they follow them. They hunt them. They're a very primitive human being. Please hear that, human being.
Do you know anything about their diet?
I hear quite a bit, and yes, in hearing, not observing. Yeah, they eat what we do, but they don't cook it, and they basically don't clean it. They'll be like a wolf that, eat around the entrails of whatever they manage to catch this animal, and they'll eat fish raw and unscaled or anything like that. They haven't got any tools that we know of. And they're real good outdoorsmen.
So you would pretty much say they're caveman in nature?
Well, cavemen, depending on how far back you go, generally had tools. The only tools that I know that the Sasquatch will use is a club, a big limb, or rocks. And cavemen had that originally, but eventually they sharpened a long staff and made a spear, and they don't do that. But they are quite cavemen in nature, yes.
Do you feel they're a dying breed, or?
No. There's quite a number of them about, but they're being pushed out of their area that they're so used to, and more seem to be sliding up, at least along our coastline, up into the high areas of uninhabited Canada.
Why do you feel they're so elusive? Is it just remote areas they perhaps inhabit, or? Well,
they're quite similar to an ape, and apes are really elusive. Out in the wild state, they're quite similar to that. They're almost animal-like, although they are human. And it's a survival method, that's all. It just, some of them have been, there was one group down in the southwest that Indians, they could talk, and they do talk, by the way, but they could converse with other Indians, us-type Indians, and they were, this group was well known for being cannibals, and a few of the Apache, I believe it was, tracked them and chased them into a large cave, and they told them to come on out and agree never to hunt our peoples again, and we'll let you go free. Well, they laughed at that. Come on in and get us. Well, the Apaches are pretty smart Native Americans, and they ain't about to go in there after those big buggers. So they just kept it blocked with people standing there in case they wanted to come out and fight. And they stayed in there while the others ran around getting dead bush and branches and stuff and filled them off of the cave up, lit it on fire, and killed them by getting rid of the air in the cave. And then they buried them there. They threw rocks and stuff down on a cave opening.
What can you tell us about their language or dialect?
They have their own dialect. They have their own culture. You have to learn each other's dialect. And that's all. It's just their cultural speech. And I've heard three of them, evidently a mother, father, and young son, talking back and forth. And they have very distinct, not chattering, but got no language. I doubt very, very much if a Yeti Sasquatch and our Sasquatch could, and speaking to each other, could understand each other. And those two, I doubt very, very much that they could understand the Chinese Sasquatch and vice versa. You know, it's just like, oh, well, look at all the white people.
Right.
My gosh, it's hard to understand some of the white people from other countries. At times, it's hard to understand someone in our own country that's from New York.
There's certainly a lot of variety. Exactly.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're nations unto themselves, culture unto themselves. And by the way, they don't all look identical. Some are much bigger, much bigger. I mean, than our big, 8, maybe 9.5 foot high Bigfoot. Some actually, the Greeks are scared to death of these, but they're still Sasquatch. But they call them the werewolves because they have a totally different shaped face than the standard Yeti and Bigfoot as we know it. But they're still Bigfoot, that's all. Just like a Chinaman, he's a human compared to us. We're all human,
right?
But we don't look the same.
You did mention that you had some actual recordings. Do you want to give us a little bit of description as to what they...
The chatting of the three? Yes, I've got them somewhere.
So on the recordings, do you hear them talking, or is it just...
Yeah. It's like they're conversing, more or less. You get the drift that mom and dad are watching some white people and kind of teaching the young one. And, watch out there, watch what he does here, and so on and so forth. Kind of observing and teaching situation for the young one. Where I live here, real close to Ellensburg, 16 miles down the road, they have the talking chimps, the sign language, and they were going to have me bring that tape in to let the chimps hear it to see if they could understand whether it's animal or human or anything they know. Unfortunately, I was not. I came home and was unable to locate the dang tape, so I never got back to them.
If you were to find the tape, would you post it on the internet somewhere for the public to listen to it, or would that be something that...
Well, it's something that can be done. I can't do it. I can press a button to send and write an email and receive, and that just about limits it, and do a little search on the internet. But if I can locate it, I'll ask Heather or that gal that put on that long interview, 3-4 day interview, that you can link to through my blog, and I'll ask them to put it on, and then let people know it's out there.
Also, another thing that has and this was mentioned in Coast to Coast, was the Thunderbirds.
Oh yeah, those are cool. Yeah, giant eagles. And there appears to be another bird that is the ancestor to the giant eagles. that is being seen up in Alaska, and they're calling those Thunderbirds. And it could be, but they're not the Thunderbirds that I know. I think they're ancestors to the Thunderbirds. And another giant whose wingspan is every bit as big as a Cessna, single-engine Cessna, or more. And different beak system and stuff.
Their habitation is, you mentioned Alaska, is that correct?
No, it's up in Northwest Territories area. And that's not their habitation. That was centuries and centuries ago their migration spot to go lay eggs and raise their family. Like seals will all get it together at one place and then part and go their own way. And they do the same. And so that used to be their nesting area. Used to be. And then the earth split and all kinds of hell broke loose and they had to take off and they split off. A lot of them died and due to the weather. But basically they're more or less around in South America right now. But they seem to be making a foray back into North America.
Are they black in color? And you said they had a wingspan of about how many feet, you would say?
22 foot. They're blackish. They're very, very dark brown. And they look like so-called bald eagle with the white heads and stuff. Beautiful birds. Gee, beautiful birds. And they look like eagles, only make an eagle look like a sparrow.
Wow, they sound giant in nature.
So they are, believe me. It's, they would migrate to the buffalo herds when the buffalo were birthing and go down and pick up newborns and stuff like that. They're not so big they can pick up a buffalo. And I'm pretty sure they could pick me up, but couldn't carry me very far. But a 30-pound or thereabout, sure. And there's been instances in our tellings of Indians having these birds shoot down and take their children, and they going out with spears and killing a few of these birds just to protect the human.
I wanted to get into the subject of nature people or nature spirits, be it the gnomes or the elves.
They're people, they're not spirits, but they're a lot like your Sasquatch. They keep themselves hidden. A number of them will shapeshift, like into a rabbit or, something of comparable size, and hop around and you'd see a wild rabbit, but it's quite possible you're not seeing what you think you are. And they're real stealthy.
That reminds me very much of the jinn from the Quran who are able to shapeshift into dogs or cats or that type of thing.
Oh, we got them here. The Apache of Apaho, Navajo, I think some Hopi are real good at that. Some of their societies, and they're all sorcerers, those. I've shapeshift, although I'm not a sorcerer. It's really not that difficult to do. It's just a matter of knowing how to go about it. Let me inject this. Here you've got in the scripture, again, everything that we learn in Inner Heyokah is scriptural based, everything. And in scripture, Big Brother, that's what we call the Christ. He had followers with him day and night, basically. And then he got himself killed and rose from the dead. Anyway, there a bunch of those apostles, future apostles, were sitting on a beach bemoaning the fact that the Lord was murdered. And lo and behold, this dude comes walking up and starts chatting with them, and they didn't recognize Christ. He shapeshifted into another looking human. And they didn't realize it was the Christ until the guy walked away and disappeared off into the sunset. And it's scriptural to be able to do this. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of knowing how.
Would you say there's an element of astral projection during the shape-shifting?
No, you say astral projection. I don't like that. I'm not mad at you, but I don't like the phrase because New Agers have put it out. And it's, traveling about with a cord between your physical body and the bed or whatnot, and you're out there lollygagging wherever you want to go. And this is a form of sorcery. It's doable, and almost, if not anybody that does it, knows that this is a man, or, a human, woman or man, that have learned this way, and stop there. I, on the other hand, do the same thing. But I have yet to leave a cord when I leave. And because I have no cord, I can go out there and play in all those violin strings, and they have no idea where I'm at or that I'm even there. And so there's astral projection, out-of-body projection. Right. And then there's the proper way, the godly way of doing the same thing, but only in a godly way and for godly reasons. So I don't like astral projection. I don't like New Age trying to explain something that anybody can do and making big money off of it and big names for themselves, And one guy got a book on it and he told coast to coast, you can do it 1,000,000 times and it is no problem at all. And yes, you can. But all it takes is one time. And evidently he hasn't reached that one time yet, but he will.
You mentioned you didn't have a cord. Are you referring to your silver cord?
Yeah. That's connecting your physical body to your spirit travel body.
Now, is there a technique to be able to, snap the cord or...
Oh, yeah, and that's why I have a ball. I'm ordered to go out and do a particular work to a troublemaker, and because I'm totally invisible, they have no idea I'm there, and hell, like in this one instance, I started singing the Hunter's song, something you're unaware of. But all of these spirit travel, not the human, but the spirit that's out there on the other end of that cord of that human, they know it. And they panic. And then I stretch it and stretch it. I become sort of horseshoe-shaped, aiming them where I want them. And they're running like crazy. Occasionally they'll try to come back and attack me, but they still don't know where I'm at. Easy enough to just shoot up above them and make my noise louder and scare the daylight out of them. Anyway, I get it to a point where, oh my gosh, it never breaks, but on its own accord. No pun intended.
Is that something you would say that you were able to do naturally, or did it take certain meditation practices or certain techniques to be able to...
Well, everything. You got to learn to ride a bicycle with 2 wheels. It takes practice, and once you learn it, you can park the bike, and years later get on it, be a little wobbly for a few yards, and then off you go. So, yes, it takes practice.
Does fasting help?
In your training, it does. Right now, I fast. What is a fast? It can be a food, or a day without food, or a meal. At night, you go to sleep, and then you get up in the morning, you have breakfast. Spell that out. It's fast, breaking the fast of the night. Anyway, fasting certainly helps, yes, in numerous ways and for numerous things.
I've had several outer body experiences. Now, when I have had them, there have been other spirits around me, or maybe one particular spirit. I will go ahead and share one mini story about it. This was when I was in England. I was in Whitby. I was there studying abroad, and I stayed at this cottage. And I had told everybody I'm going to take a nap. There was others with me, and I went upstairs and I went to the room I was at, and I fell asleep to take a nap. And I woke up thinking I had woken up, and I got up out of bed. Before I did, there was a lady dressed in an old type of nightgown with that, that white hat, the full from neck all the way down to her, feet. And
yeah, and that pressed down cook's hat type thing.
Yes, and she had she was, I guess, in her nightgown, and she looked at me, smiled, and walked out the door. And I was like, and I get up, and I'm like, wait a minute. I look down, and I can see myself asleep, like I usually always sleep. And I was like, oh, I wonder where she went. And then without thinking, I'm like, I'm going to go and follow her. Wait a minute. Am I dead? And I didn't think anything of it. And I thought, well, I don't know what happened. And then I was like, I need to go back into my body. And I kept trying to go back into my body. And finally someone opened the door and said, Kaylee. I'm like, yes. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, we heard a gunshot. I'm like, a gunshot? I've been asleep. I don't hear anything. There's nothing here, so yeah, I just didn't know. I just didn't know. I think I've had several others before, but I wasn't even near my body to realize that I was gone. But that's why when you're saying, I'm like, well, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't like I looked for it. It happened.
No, honey, it was not your fault. Every human being does what you did in some time in their life, at least once. Everybody has had the experience of jerking awake. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Like you're sound asleep, all of a sudden you give a body jerk, and boy, it wakes you up. That's your spirit returning from a job that the Creator has sent them out on, and you didn't know it. And with our court, doing it in the proper manner, and it's come back into your body, trying to get back into your physical being, which is not dead, and making a kind of a poor landing and hit the edge of that little baby spot up at the top of your head. But you don't know this. You're unaware of it. Everybody does it, but they're unaware that their inner nagual, that's another matter, has been called out to do a work. And while you're storing away, out it goes. And much of the time, you don't even know that you were ever out. A few times, you will find out, like you did, that you are out. And, it takes a jar. Until you learn this, it takes somewhat of a jar, be it a metal jar, somebody knocking on the door and saying, are you all right? Or whatnot, to get you right back into there in that big rush. And, anyway, it's natural, but then there's the unnatural with the court.
I think that experience was that the spirit that I saw was trying to tell me or trying to show me how she might have died. That's how I took it, because that's usually how I usually sense how they died, or they tell me, either they actually tell me how it happened, or they show me like a movie type picture thing, or I actually feel what's going on. I get that all the time,
but I'm not asleep. Again, generally when the Indians, the Cree, for instance, will call me up on a lost person, I can sit here and boom, be over there and see the whole situation and tell them where to go, what way on the road, where to stop, what to look for, go in there and get the body if it's a body. Or tell them that, just relax, don't worry. They're out there partying somewhere. And don't worry, not dead, they're going to be fine, and they'll be back in 2-3 days or so. And, it wouldn't surprise me that the woman was trying to show you something, possibly even where she's buried. She might have been murdered.
What's your take on the dream world, Red Elk?
My brother, we are the dream. That world is the reality.
I believe that too as well. I actually think that it's 2 lives that we're living in once, or maybe even 3 or 4, because sometimes the dream will pick up where it left off, or the storyline still continues. And so it's kind of like, who was that philosopher? Was it Plato who has said that about the dream? world that's really real. I remember that.
Well, if and when you ever truly connect with the great Creator in your hunger to learn, you're going to have to learn to unlearn before you can learn. There's many people who are considered schizophrenic, for instance. There's many more that are schizophrenic. But these so-called first many are living in a split way, living in the true reality that exists that you are not aware of, and the reality that mankind says is real, which is a joke. Unfortunately, they haven't learned this, and therefore they haven't learned to keep their mouths shut. I could go downtown mumbling and screaming or whatever I wanted to do, and they all think I'm really out of my mind. So I learned to keep my mouth shut. If I'm talking to somebody that you never know is there, I know I'm talking to somebody while I'm chatting with you, maybe.
We've actually had a long discussion as a group about that, and we've all agreed that schizophrenics, in a lot of cases, may be tapping into the spirit world and hearing and seeing spirits.
They're seeing reality.
Right. And
we, the general population on Earth, don't see that reality. So they're nuts, and we're all sane. I'm sorry, but they're nuts, and some of these schizophrenics are not at all insane. Just dumb, don't know what's involved, and get carried away, and will go ranting and raving around. Now, understand this. There are true schizophrenic that might have an imbalance or literally demon-possessed.
right.
But when you get right with the Creator, you learn the difference.
I want to move into spiritual cleansings, Red Elk. When we are on the field, we do come across negative infestations, and as a group, we've been pretty successful at, cleansings and that type of thing. Do you have any advice for the paranormal groups out there that are doing cases where there's negative infestations and want to perform a cleansing or banishing or...
Sure, I do. Very simple. Fear not. It's as simple as that.
Very well said. That is one of the things I think we bring up initially all the time. It seems that they feed off our fears.
Brother, it's simple. The scriptures tell you, fear not. The things I feared has come upon me. And when you fear, you do call unto yourself. It happens. So fear not, and you aren't going to have all that trouble. I have gone against countless demonic beings. I have literally gone against Lucifer himself. And I couldn't even begin to tell you the many, many, many times that I have gone against so-called ghosts. That's the white word that we Indians pick up. We call them shades or shadows. And some pretty darn bad ones at that. And all the Indians, they scatter to the hills and won't go into the spot that they're having trouble with. I got no problem with it, And when I'm done, it's all cleansed. I can and quite often do use cedar and wild mint and sage and sweetgrass as a smoke. And again, scriptural, make a sweet smell onto God. It's in there. And so I do that, and it helps cleanse the area. And literally, it calls in all spirits in that general area, good and bad. And the combination of these particular herbs that I smoke, I set a little fire and smoke them. The combination calls all in, good and bad. But the bad cannot stand the smell of the good smell. And they highball it out of there, leaving only the good, which can take it all and love it all. And so that's what smudging and, cleansing with that method is part of.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to get to, because we do use the sage and the sweetgrass smudge sticks, along with other methods that we've been very successful with. I just wanted to get your take on perhaps traditional native methods that were, somewhat different than what we currently use, or we.
Well, let me inject this, my brother. America, North America, and I assume South America, the Americas, are divided into different, not time zones, but weather zones. And what you might use, sweetgrass, and I use, my combination, is not common to a totally different weather, like what I do here.
Right.
Is not common to what they do down in the desert zone.
Right.
So it works better with the local way than bringing in a foreign way. It's better. They all seem to work, but it's better to go strictly in the way of the area you're working with.
It's kind of like they use in the Middle East, they don't use sweetgrass or sage, but instead they use Syrian rue, which is local to the area.
Well, down south, they will take freshly picked cotton ball, or a few of them, and stick them on their steam doors. And I'll be danged if the flies won't come in. And mosquitoes too, I think. But I tried it here, it doesn't work.
What would he say is one of the core principles of your teachings?
Do not believe a word I say, not anything I tell you. You have to learn to test it yourself to find out if I'm telling true or lies, if I am in the great creator or just spewing out wonderful knowledge. Don't trust a thing I say. I have no intention of lying. I haven't lied, not to you guys at all. And but that doesn't mean Red Elk says. My gosh. So don't accept the word I say. Check 3 times to find out if what I'm saying is true. I don't want to start a new religion or church or anything.
That's one of the things that really stood out, that grabbed me from your book, that you do say, don't believe a word I say, test it. And I have the same perspective in the line of research that I do with the EVPs. We focus on the serious research, and instead of trying to convince people of the reality of this, we don't waste too much time on that. We encourage people to do the research themselves, to get involved with the experimentation, to have a first-hand account and experience. I think that's the path to truth.
I mean, it's one thing to have it another. It's quite another to contemplate, is this true? And then seek it and find out.
Right. Without a doubt. I mean, people will try to debunk certain things that they have no first-hand account with. It's kind of like, you can't engage in a conversation with somebody who has not had a first-hand experience. It's almost futile. It's a waste of time, It
is a waste of time. You'll never convince those jackasses on the couch unless you really, really work at it. And the only way that you can convince those jackasses on the couch is to bring them into the Word of God, get rid of the junk that's been added by man over the century, bring it down to the pure Word of God, and show it to them. And they're going to have to accept that, gee, that black book or whatnot has a lot of truth in it. And once they get that grip, then they start loosening up their I don't know, their hold, their I know everything and you know nothing and you're a nut. Do you understand?
Totally. What do you have to say for the people that don't believe in spirits, who totally deny the fact that we are spiritual beings?
That's all right. Leave them be. That's their path. Don't try ever try to force anybody into anything. Don't try to force it. If you simply say, well, this is what I've learned, and I just leave it at that. This is your path, your life, you do it as you please. I will guarantee you this. When they have stopped breathing, they will all know the truth. Just go about your own path. If someone's interested, I found long ago, if someone's interested, they have to come to me. I do not ever go to somebody else. I won't do a healing unless they come to me or they send somebody to me. And then I go to them and ask them, is there something you want? If they say no, good, off I go. That's their path, that's their will. And I'll be darned if I'm going to mess with it. And by the way, surprisingly, their path eventually, on some, actually lead them to the total truth. And it took that long years of denial to come finally seeking the real truth. It was a path that Dad has designed to get them out of the stiff neck. But it's not my job, it's God's job. He birthed us all in his mind womb, and we're all his children, whether they believe in him or whatnot, or her, or whatever they want to call God. And Dad loves everything he makes, and he'll do everything he possibly can to bring them to knowledge that he is their daddy, and very real. But it's not our job. It's his. Let them come to you. Don't go to them. And that's why we, 12, let them come to us. And the scripture says God knows who he has chosen. And he means it. And if, letting him control, trusting him completely, that he'll take care of it, he will. He doesn't need my help. Heck, I'm a baby still in diapers. And I am, really. Maybe I can toddle a little bit, but a little more advanced than some. But nevertheless, he knows what he's doing, and I trust him to do it, so please.
You've mentioned Nagual. The term Nagual rings a bell with the works of Don Juan and Carlos
certainly.
Castañeda.
Right.
Would that be the same term?
Yep, but they don't know it as I do. To them, it's to be used for sorcery.
Right.
The Nagual. And the fact is, scripture-wise, we had domain over all spirits, all angels, all, including Lucifer. And they learned that there was a Nagual. And over time, I don't know, but they did not learn of the God. They didn't know God. Or if they did, they got shot up and the other one pulled for it. But nevertheless, that's all they know how to do with the Nagual. On the other hand, I understand that. And yes, I can command this angel in me, the Nagual angel of the Nagual Society of Heaven, to do whatever I choose. But I love too much to misuse his helpers. I just won't do it. So I don't use. It uses me. I know your brain is right at my solar plexus. I know my brain is right up here in the top of my skull. I know that you are of God, and I still have a lot of self in me. Too much me and not enough God. And I know that you bleed over into me occasionally. And I can see the results of this bleed over. And frankly, I see nothing but love from you. But I don't see that same love in my own brain that you have for Papa. So do me a favor, being that you and I work together, and being that I am a prince in heaven, and you have to obey my orders, let's straight. You go outside, I'll go down there.
I know we had mentioned divas.
I call them divas. Maybe you're right. Anyway.
Would you say it's akin to a diva or a diva?
No. The job is in the golf. He goes outside, he gets, from the former body, the car, we call it, crashed, got buried. Well, it always goes to heaven because it always comes from heaven. There is no Nagual from Lucifer. There is familiar spirit. And Casada never learned that this is of God. He's only learned what he was taught. And nevertheless, a Nagual enters a body, and it has 2 orders, just 2. Do everything possible short of death to keep this soul on the right road. 2, you are never allowed to go against this soul's will, ever. That's a pretty hard order. He's in my car, my body, and I have free will, and he has orders that he can't mess with it.
Right.
It's like my computer in the car has gone amok, and he can't do a dang thing about it. I say he, there's no sex. But nevertheless, he's not allowed to. But he is allowed to bring me right up to death. Death is a choice of each one of us. We don't have to die for a long time. Don't have to die at all if we don't want to. You get a little tired, though, But, anyway, he starts out saying, you're out of step with God. You're off the path, son. Your wheels are off to the side of the road there a little bit. He gives you a cold. And, to warn you. It's a warning.
Kind of brings the image of the little devil and the little angel looking over your shoulder.
Well, yeah, except one's inside and one's always walking around there with you. But anyway, so you take an aspirin and go to bed. 2-3 days later, the symptoms are gone. You have put a Band-Aid on a sore. And then, so it didn't do any good. You're still doing that thing that's wrong. So, okay, I'll give him the flu. So it gets a little stronger. And, I feel miserable. I go get a flu shot. Another Band-Aid. And that sore is festering more and more because you keep doing the same thing wrong. He's trying to warn you, get right with God and get healed. And then finally ends up with, oh my gosh, I've got cancer. My goodness. And it's up to you whether you're going to die of cancer or not. Totally up to you. I have personally seen the dead raised. I have personally seen old 3, maybe 4, who were literally hours or a day or 2 away from dying, in a coma in one case. And I did what I did. I explained what this is all about, and I told them, are you really ready to meet God? And if you really want to go, fine, I'll help you. I'll explain what heaven is all like and make it unfearful to you. But if you don't want to go, you can come back, live however long you want, or however long, you want, and get all these teeny tiny quarrels and fights and bickering and bitching all squared away with you and the one that you did it with. All the resentments you hold to people, you can tell them about it and ask them to forgive you, no matter what they did to make it. You can get right in God and all the thousands of little things that, for instance, the Catholic will go to the box and talk to the dweeb and tell them their sins of the day. But they never tell about the dirty look they gave that little boy in the kitchen who was making a mess. An ungodly. Never. They don't tell that. But they tell about swatting him on the butt, maybe. And okay, go and say a dozen more rosaries and blah, 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 and you're all forgiven. Bullcrap. You go to the child and you apologize. I do that with my own grandchildren. My own child. And she's almost 40. But at the end of the night, there's apologies being made. Getting right with the Creator.
That's always a good thing. What is your take on shadow beings?
Are you talking about the ones that people tell about on Coast to Coast?
On our investigations, we constantly are hearing reports of people who all of a sudden wake up in the middle of the night, are in a state of paralysis, and there's this black mass staring at them.
Emitting an ungodly energy of fear and menacing. Basically, and this may sound, I don't know, a catch-all, but basically what you're fighting, they're sensing, seeing, hearing, or being touched or pushed or ripped by, is basically a demon. That's it.
Okay, well that's kind of what I wanted to get, because I know there's different schools of thought on that in paranormal circles, and I wanted your opinion on the shadow beings, because they're kind of the elusive bunch, and you know.
Well, there's more than one type too. There are literally visitors from other planets that have that form, and they use that black as a stealth method, and so I mean they're very real beings, soul bearers from other planets. I was known of one black being that came as a black robe.
Right.
An old priest way back when. And, you know, they're just accordingly, and there's always some kind of a reason behind it. But the other ones, the demons, like that, some of them are darker than the dark in the room. You can see them easily. Yeah, it's black that eats are black. You know, believe it or not, I love Lucifer, and I mean it. I do not worship him. You wouldn't catch me worshiping that twit for love of money. But if it was not for him accepting the job of coming here and presenting sin to us, we'd still all be angels.
Right.
We would have no self-will. And God needed a volunteer, and Lucifer volunteered. And he told him what the outcome would be, and Lucifer thought, oh, the old man's out of his gourd. I'll never turn my back and want to be God. Well, he's finding out he has. But nevertheless, because he's done what he took on one heck of a job. For you and me to be you and me. Free will people. And therefore I love him. And guess what? He cannot stand me, nor stand around me.
Because you have no fear.
I have love.
Exactly.
He can't take love. He remembers it.
Right.
And he knows what he's become. So he flees from me. He does. Boy, the things I could tell you. Now, these black beings that show up, they're demons. God taught Lucifer everything that God knew except how to make a soul. Lucifer knew how to make a human form. They come in the form. He makes them in the form of demonic beings. They're doing their job. To them, Lucifer is God. After all, he told them. After all, he made them, so he's God. And they're obeying what they think is God. And they're just doing their jobs. And quite often, I explain that to them. And I've seen one actually surrender and ask the true God to forgive him. And he went up.
Have you ever been attacked by a negative entity?
Oh, many times, sure.
And what did you do to defend yourself?
Well, I came back the first time that happened. I came back with 3 big bites on my back because I went in heady.
But did they cut the skin? I mean,
And
did it actually?
Boy, you don't go in heady.
Was it significant enough to where it cut your skin and you were bleeding? Or?
Yeah. Teeth marks. But that's all right. It was a good thing. From here on in, there on in, I have never gone in heady. Whoa. You know, I go in with a bunch of God angels, sometimes with Christ himself, because I know it's him, God, doing the work not me. When you're heady, that's you. That's self. And the most dangerous thing mankind faces in his lifetime is not Lucifer, but self. I find my calling, my duty, my job is to explain a living Jesus Christ, a living Father Creator, Mother, Buddha. It's just cultural differences, and that's all, different names and stuff. Everybody is searching for their Father of all creation in their own way. Everybody is. Even the atheists who go around preaching there is no God, trying to get parasites to join them. But everybody's searching in their own way.
How about your kids, Red Elk? Are they following the path that you are or have?
Unfortunately, somewhat onto somewhat. Little Sky, my pride and joy, he just recently turned 15, and that kid can come up with some real spiritual insight. But he's so danged immature, and he lives in his immaturity, which is, Grandpa, can I have another one of those video games? Or, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do this. And stubborn as a mule that's long dead. And, at times he comes through really. I'm thinking, my gosh, he's getting it. And then bam, slam, weeks and nothing except junk.
Well, he's young. I think that...
Well, yeah, but I try to... It's in the book. He came home and he said, Grandpa, they had a test today, and I failed it. And I said, you failed it? And he said, yeah. They had a long list of things you can communicate back and forth with. And the long list of things you cannot. Well, he already knows trees talk. He talks with them, not to them, with them. He already knows that you can levitate. He's done that twice.
Wow, he's actually done it himself?
Oh, sure, I taught him. And the oldest boy, he's done it once. And those two guys, they were on a trampoline. And how high you can jump on a trampoline, I don't know. But they stayed up there, I guess, until they realized, hey, they're shocked of finding out the stair is coming down. But I have one guy that I taught. He told me he's learned, and he was going to a park, a town or a city park, and levitating all through the park at 3 meters high, whatever that is.
Was there people that witnessed that, or?
Well, evidently there was. So he realized he's scaring the hell out of people, and I warned people about this. So now he says, no, I just go out in the backyard. With him, his yard at night, and I just go out there and I levitate 3 meters all around the yard, just for fun.
How about magicians? Do you think they use similar techniques, or do you feel they resort to...
I think that's one does. That young man.
Chris Angel?
Yes. I really do. Well, I enjoyed him more when he was not a professional. And he was doing things there in, I think, New York or Chicago, and doing little slight levitations and things like that. Then he was doing true. I mean, it was no bullcrap. And other things that he was doing then. But he became professional, got rich, got famous, and he's learned to do a few things through trickery since. Or says he does.
I had actually wondered about that, like in the case of David Blaine, who's actually done it on the street in front of a lot of people.
Well, isn't that the same guy? The one that was just a street person kind of about.
Right. That would be David Blaine.
Oh, I thought they were one of the same. But that's the one I enjoy watching.
Have you heard of the Italian Catholic priest, Padre Pio, who bore the stigmatas and had the ability to bilocate, heal, and levitate? And of which was documented and witnessed by lots of people?
Well, why not? It can be done. Those are that get in touch with God, get in touch with an inner self of just ecstasy. I do. And some of them get carried away and do things like that. I learned, keep my mouth shut. And a lot of people want me to levitate for them. First off, not unless God tells me, and they ain't God. And what for? So they can literally tape it and make money on the tape.
Right. Well, I know that was in your book, and you do have your reservations about doing actual public displays of that type of thing.
It makes me look bad.
Would there ever be an exception? I mean,
only God knows. That's that, dude.
So then the possibility is then that one day Red Elk may show up on TV and do a levitation.
Nobody's going to totally believe it all the time.
Right.
There's always people that just do not want to believe anything. I mean, just unbelievable. They'll down everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have the great James Randi first in line to debunk it.
Yeah, except, I met that man. He's pretty dang good. And he's got, $1 million check in his, I don't know, some safe or something. If I was himself, if I wanted to, he and I could sit in front of all the TV cameras they can put in at an empty table, and he could tell me it can't be done, and I can make that $1 million check appear right there on the table in front of him and tell him sign it. Yeah, but I'd be doing it. I'd be doing it himself. I'd be doing it to show off, and that is not the way of Christ.
Right. So
I am a Christ follower.
In the Bible, it does refer to in the last days that there would be individuals that would perform miracles. Do you feel we're at those times when we may be seeing more of this kind of display of miraculous?
More of it, yes. We've been seeing it for a little bit, but more of it, yes, certainly. And people have got to learn to check everything.
During the time that you had the long extended fasting session during the 70s, you had some very vivid visions. Do you want to share some of that with us?
All right. Well, on the fast itself, it was just a fast, but what happened during it, that was something else. And that was this 3-day overtime great vision, I call it. And I saw steel mills shut down. This is taking place. Some of them still haven't reopened. I saw automobile factories shut down, and again, the same thing has happened. I saw 55-gallon drums of oil stacked high up and way up, side by side, tumble, crash, and this is happening at this moment. And I saw great snows, and this is happening. And, really ice, and all across America, North America. And I don't see hardly a lick of Canada and South America. That's not, that is left to somebody else to see, I guess. But it all concerns North America. I've seen volcanic eruptions like you wouldn't believe, and neither did the scientists. They didn't know they were there. And earthquakes, I didn't know they were there. Just tremendous. Bugs, insects, eating like, during the Dust Bowl or the Mormon thing. Just, oh my gosh, it's just unbelievable. Death like you could not believe for the human race in America. Water, boiling water. I'm talking lakes. I'm talking big pieces of water. Fish dying, belly up, coming to the surface. Nothing left for you and me to eat unless you want to eat it right then and there and get your hand burned reaching for parched fish and eat what you can while you can, because they're gone and rotten. Ain't going to be more. Very few of anything will survive this time coming up. And we're in it. It's no longer a would-be. It is happening. And vast trains draped in black, filled with stacks and stacks and stacks of bodies, mostly from the East Coast, coming out to the Badlands and tossing these bodies literally into the Aurora. And, they too vast amount of people to sit there and bury. And people die and they can't bury them easily. They're in pretty bad shape. And earthquakes, volcanoes, winds, storms, unbelievable volcanoes. Like I say, tremendous winds, and we're getting them.
Did the vision reveal the cause, the root cause? Was it due to a polar shift, or was it a combination?
Oh, it will bring on the polar shift as part of it. But the root cause, we aren't right with the Creator. We turned our backs on Him. We become our own big G God, and we're not. We're little G. That is the root cause. And when people can quit pointing their fingers at he did it, she did it, they did it, and get to the mirror and point it at themselves and say, I did it. And then repent. The word repent means turn away from. That's what it means. And sin means turn away from disobedience to God. That's what it means, and that's what it will take. And if it does, we got a new shift coming up, or this one.
Did the visions indicate that this precisely happened during the 2012 winter solstice of December 21st?
No, I went back in time. I really enjoy time traveling to check on things. And I watched the Aztecs and the Mayas, who were great stargazers or whatnot. Anyway, they knew what's going on. And when they got to the year 2012, literally, they shrugged their shoulders, they held up their hands, like, I don't know. It was a year of decision, and they had no idea which way mankind would go from that particular year on. They were just stumped. It was either go to God or go to doom and destruction of the civilized world as we know it. And that's what it's all about. It's not the end of the world, but it is like licking your envelope and putting the stamp on it, and the postmaster just takes cancellation stamp, plots it down on top of that stamp, and it's a done deal. It's out. And it's all in Bibles if you want to study it. It's all of them are in Scripture.
So you would say that your vision did coincide with the biblical apocalypse?
Yeah. And you got to remember, I check everything, even the Word of God. And even when Big Brother appears to me, like he did just the other night, I check to make sure that is Christ Jesus 3 times. And in my checking, if it wavers, I tell it to get lost. And in my checking, if it doesn't waver but disappears, it's already took off. If it stays firm and true, then I say, okay, let's talk. I'm not afraid of testing. And the great Creator says, test the spirit in or of all things. That is including the Word of God, including something that might appear before you, including even what you say. Your words are spirits in a form. And what others tell you, what you read, I test everything.
Did the visions also include a vision of a rapture, per se?
No, not this time. The Christian world holds to 3 beliefs of rapture. 1, we're all going to go up and miss everything. Well, we're in part of that everything, so you can drop that one right then and there. 2 is, it's going to get pretty bad, but we'll be taken up, praise God, and miss a really bad part. I'm sorry. Number 3 is we're going to have to go through a lot of this, if not all of it. And that's the one that holds true. I prepare for that one. I have things for that one. If I get hit by a car, everything that I've got for that one, I won't see any use out of it. I never prepare for myself. I prepare for everybody. That's the way I look at it. I'm fully aware of it. I own nothing except my own will. That's it. I don't even really own my life. I owe my life to the Great One, but I don't own it. The only thing I own is my self-will.
Was there any indications of a specific date or time frames?
Never. That's the bad thing. Never am I given a date. It will happen. Still to be.
Do you feel that's because of the state of potential that's dependent on perhaps the mass consciousness?
As consciousness. When Christ said, I am, think on that. I am. I am. Remember I told you this is the dream. It's not the reality. Not the true reality. The fact is, mass consciousness is you are the only one in existence. Everything else, incidents, people you meet, wars, everything, every single thing is your dream. Your dream. I can make people see me in another form and have. I can disappear before a whole crowd and have. I have. Because I recognize they're all figments of my dreaming, my imagination. Mass consciousness? No. There's only you. You and only you can change it. Now, I'm telling you a hologram to me, these things. And trying to, because you are an I am all by yourself too. I am, in this one, Red Elk, is your upper and hidden knowledge that you were born with. So even I, the only I am, realize what I'm doing to you, the only I am, but still my hologram, is bringing you this knowledge forth, presenting this knowing forth to you. But I'm a hologram of yours. So what does that got to do with me? Literally, me in my I am cementing what I know. I'm making it stronger and firmer. Sharing it with myself, really, which would be you.
The oneness of the universe. We're all connected. We're all part of the same fabric of reality.
All literally own energy. What happens when an immovable object and an unstoppable force happens? Nothing. Nothing. They're both identical energy. One passes right through the other. Matching energies.
Well, definitely empty space. As solid as anything is, it's all energy. It's all information.
It's all dream. God dream. All of it. Except that he birthed you, the only I am. And he said, you are as God, G little, big O-D. In short, we are able to do every single thing that the Creator does, except we can never be the Great One, ever. We can be godly. We can never be the Christ, but we can be Christ-like. We can never be Satan, Lucifer, really, but we can be satanic. Everything else, if you need to move a mountain, literally, I'm serious, you can move that mountain. My wife and I passed through a head-on collision. They never even none of them knew we were there. And my wife said, what was that? You know, all braced to get a good slap, a big one. And I laughed. I said, I told you everything is energy. We just passed through. I've known of others that have done identical. Should have been dead under most circumstances. Log truck landing on top of a car. Didn't happen. The car went through all the damaged stuff. If you know, big K-N-O-W, you have convinced yourself, not an inkling of a doubt, you're there. And these people that time travel, they got Dr. Doom on Coast to Coast. He shows up quite a bit. And what a crock. You never go ahead more than 3 days, ever. Because tomorrow is the most related to the day. You will see quite accurately what will take place tomorrow. And the next day, not as accurate. And the third day, even far less so. After that, it is happening, whatever it is you're seeing. But is it happening in our parallel time or another one? Parallel times exist, and everything does take place. But the thing is, you're not aware of how to tell the difference. So you get Dr. Doom out there telling you this and telling you that. How do I know what parallel time he's in? You know, I'll never go beyond 3 days. And to go backwards in time, it's already taken place. There are billions of yous out there in parallel time. Here you're talking. There you got your mouth shut in one of them. Here you're a guy. There you're a girl. You know, in one of them. You blink here, you don't blink there. Because you blinked or sneezed here, you hit a little boy on a bike that got pulled out in front of you. Kill him. There, you don't. You don't kill him. And that little boy goes up to be President of the United States. There are billions, literally billions of parallel times. And God knows every single one of them. But we don't. How can you envision, how can you see the end of eternity? How can you see the sides of eternity? You cannot, and neither can I. Even God knows that everything is eternity. The Bible literally tells you who God's mom and dad is. It is the great void, i.e. to you, the black mass. God is his own mother and father. For time unknown, God himself, he has not a clue of how old he is. Not a clue. But somewhere along the line, he became aware of his own nothingness. And for centuries and centuries, God himself might know how long. I sure can't. He thought, I exist. I'm alive. I'm something. I'm floating around here. I'm something. And as he's saying that to himself, he's thinking up words that didn't exist. But in time, he got so enthused about being aware that he had to share it with something. What? I'll make angels. What are angels? I don't know. I'll make them. I'll put it in my dream. And he did. We're lucky he didn't get pissed off, pardon me, about being the only thing out there. Nothing to keep him company. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a loving God. We'd have just a big whip. You know what I mean? He is and was and always has been the great void.
Are you familiar with the works and research and experimentation of John Hutchinson?
Don't know him, so I guess not.
John Hutchinson is a scientist from Canada using Tesla coils and Van de Graaff machines and radio frequencies, discovered what's known as the Hutchinson effect, where objects in the field that he was generating would materialize, disappear, some would levitate, metals would mesh.
Why do you need to go to all the expense to build all those parts to do this thing just to get it when you can do it right there in your living room with your own dang mind? My book talks about things like this. And frankly, anything like that, anything, how to levitate, how to teleport, how to do on-demand telecommunication, anything like that is all from scriptures.
I'm going to have Kaylee share a little bit about her abilities. You care to share with some of that as far as how you're able to perceive the spirits when you do some of your psychic sessions?
There has been times recently where I can actually visually see with my mind's eye what they look like. Up until recently. Before, like maybe when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, I started to have like dreams. And when I'm saying the word dreams, I'm quoting because I know that they were spirits coming while I was asleep, telling me what was going on with them or how they felt or what was going on. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm asleep. Leave me alone. I can't help you. You need to go to the light. You need to just go to the light. Now, other times where I have, been in front of somebody and sometimes they put me on the spot and sometimes they don't. But I've been able to get, I don't know how to receive these images or whatever, but I describe them from top to bottom. I kind of actually mimic their personality. Not that they're entering my body or anything like that. No. It's just...
No, but you're quite capable of quoting them physically as well as mouth-wise.
Yeah, like how they would stand or how they would sit or what they believed or how they would wear certain things or what they would wear, like jewelry or whatever, how they would dress.
And to the one you're telling it about, right on the money, right?
Yes. And
that what you're seeing is literally. No, you don't have to believe me, please don't. But understand, I know. Big K, big N, big O-W. I know. We all have the abilities you have, all of it. You were born with that knowledge. But you woke up as a tiny baby and looking around, suddenly you gain your eyesight. Here comes your brother, hardly walking, diaper dragging, but walking, and you haven't even learned to turn over yet. And right then and there, you start aging. You say, when I grow up, I can walk like Brother. And then he's on a tricycle. When I grow up, I can have a tricycle. Then a bike. I can do that when I get older and grow up. And you literally start aging. And then eventually, in your learning, you look at Grandma and Grandpa, and they're old people about ready to kick the bucket. Someday when I grow up, I'm going to be like that. Reverse it. Reverse your age. I've done so once and nobody would believe it was me. Even the people that knew me well couldn't believe this was me. I looked so dang young, I overshot. I was trying for 24, and I went to a 17, 18-year-old look. And the other people did not, could not, and would not accept that somebody so young can know so much. This cannot be Red Elk. So literally within, I think minutes, it might have been an hour or two, I went back to being the old grandpa. 2 teeth in my head, and that's it. Wrinkles all over. And now they believe me, or accept me as being Red Elk.
In front of us is a picture of Red Elk, Kaylee. I know in some of your psychic readings, you've been able to tell a lot from a picture.
Well, I would be able to, but I feel like that baby. But the baby that wants to turn, that doesn't even know how to turn over, I feel like that baby saying, I can't wait to ride that bicycle, and I have yet even learned how to walk. So that's how I feel in comparison to you when it comes to this topic. That's how I literally feel, like that baby that can barely turn over.
All right, drop all that crap. Now give me a reading on my picture. It won't hurt. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's, I don't know, it's just such a big rush that I'm getting. I mean, you have, of course, seen a lot. It's
if it's negative, tell it. Don't be afraid. Whatever it is.
It's stuff that it's very hard to describe because
I'm somewhat of an enigma, am I not?
Yeah.
I guess. Boy, if you had the real picture of Jesus Christ, you'd find out I'm like you feel. I'm not even ready to roll over yet.
I'm just thinking, like, I know that you are prepared as far as you know.
Well, I know there's more to do, but yes.
Yeah, you're prepared as far as you know what is to come when you pass. But you've thought about death for a very long time. But
it's true.
I mean, even before anyone would hint to you about death, you knew about it.
It's true.
When you were even like 4 or 5 years old. You were already thinking about what is to come after this happens. And no one had even told you, hey, death exists. It was something you were literally born to learn how to cope with. I mean, after your own death. You would think about things that people, or I should say, children your age never thought about, and observe everything around you.
Well, that's a good observation. It's extremely true. Ever since a little boy.
Yeah.
I know that you are half Irish and also Native American.
French, Irish, Shoshone, and Blackfoot. Well, you got to remember, my mother was a half-breed, literally right down. And my dad, another half-breed right down. But I always thought I was full-blood Indian.
Yeah, that's what I was, that's why I was saying when you were about 4 or 5, you started realizing about, you know, so now it makes sense. It's clear. And I keep picking up on this animal. It's very... It has, of course, okay, it has wings, the animal, but it also has, like, paws, like 4 paws and a long tail with spikes on the... Is this, is this ringing a bell? Is this the animal I'm picking up that's...
A form of dragon, a form.
Yeah, it's like it would be like a dragon, but I couldn't say it is because it has...
No, it's not. It's a form like the Great Sphinx in Egypt, in a form.
Right.
Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with what's going on, but I better not say. And if you see my totem, which is my Indian angel spirit,
yeah,
don't tell at all, because someone who can learn how to, if they learn my Indian cultural angel, my protective angel, if they can learn of it, they can mess with it. And so that please don't say anything now.
It will always guard you, trust me.
Aye, aye.
But, yeah, that's, I mean, well, for now, there's a lot more, but there's a lot that I'm not allowed to say. I just am not allowed to say.
Keep your mouth shut.
And I will not, because okay, that is it. Okay, I'm told not to, okay, Fox.
I understand. I was about to say something, and whoop, nope, I'm told not to. And I do that, and upset some people. No, I'm not going to tell you. Forget it. Sorry, brought it up.
It's out of respect, because I understand respect, and we're, you know, I completely do not want, I don't mess with that realm unless, you know, I'm giving a door, you know, to welcomed. And if I am, you know, it's one of those things where they say, okay, that's it. No more. I understand. I will not delve into that. I respect that.
Good girl. Smart. And do that with all others.
Now, you've had some near-death experiences. Is that correct?
Well, this one time I died. No near-death experience of a dead. But
You were actually pronounced dead?
no, nobody even knew I was laying there in bed, getting cold. Only I knew, and then the great one. But yeah, getting cold, dude, getting cold. And I was dead. I recognized it.
What did you experience during that time? I mean, did you...
That's the same dang thing I experience every time he takes me up. Same place, same type of stuff. Colors. Oh, the colors just make us look like we had coal dust over the most beautiful flowers. You never meet God. You breathe God. It's like chaff, silver chaff in the air. That is the all that God is. If you see God, you will only see him in a way that he knows you would call him or her or it God. He projects your idea of what God is and then appears to you in that manner. And Jesus is as alive right now as I am and you are. Literally. He's not dead. He's not a spirit. He is walking around there, and probably, if he wants, he can put his footprints on the sidewalk as he walks, where the angels and stuff don't, but they walk too. And, I mean, he's alive. And, yeah, something else. I tell you, there's one place that always fascinates me that I, for whatever reason, go through, and that's some of the hallways in the great city up there that he has created. And they're thick. I don't know, 10, 12 feet thick. And it's like thick see-through glass. And the walls give off a comfortable, I don't know, probably body temperature. Not hot, not cool, just perfect. And but the strange thing is, in these glass walls, it's like pastel smoke swirling around, paints, soft blues, a beautiful gray smoke, like smoke. And you go to touch it, and it's solid as all get up. It's like touching glass. And it's like you blowing cigarette smoke gently between two pieces of glass and watching how it swirls and twirls. It just fascinates the daylights out of me. Just fascinates. Quite a place topside.
Would you say you're one of the last of the Mohicans, or is it tradition?
Well, let's put it this way, my brother. There will never be a replacement as we die off. We are the last of the Inner Heyokah. And so some of us, not all of us, are doing all we can to do what the Creator has born us to do. And as we die, I have people say, I feel I'm supposed to be an Inner Heyokah. Well, they can feel all they want. That's pride. Self. It just ain't going to happen. And know this, please. When I do die, whether this next time or on number 4, I can absolutely guarantee I will not come back. Period. My Naqual will in another body. I don't know what his I say his again. The angels have no effect. Sure look like it though. I tell you, it's nifty looking gals.
Do any of the 12 other elders make public appearances, or are you kind of the voice for the council?
There's only 2, and the other one is a real shaman from the steppes of Russia, gal. And unfortunately, all the rest to date that I know of have been sidestepped, just too much for them, and have kind of gone astray or just gone quiet. Can't blame them. especially the ones that have gone quiet. We call it putting down the feathers, quitting. And I've come close to that a number of times. But then I understand that the pay is, we're better trained, not necessarily on doing brain surgery or anything like that some of our white doctors are real good at. But still, we can get rid of tumors in the brain without cutting that cut. And I've seen cancer healed instantly, all kinds of things, without making anything except getting into purity and touch your spot, checking what he tells me 3 times, checking to make sure it's in 3 times, and doing as he tells, literally on the spot as he tells. And not a cut involved anything, and yet we can do the healing work that a brain surgeon, a heart surgeon, kidney surgeon, whatnot can do. And the thing is, you are each, and I am all alone. And that's why you're wearing glasses and pants, and you've got a vehicle, a house, and stuff. It's all a dream. Boy, the things I could tell you about going to houses that other people walk through or walk by and not even know that I'm there, let alone anything else is there. And rain and stuff like that. I walk in, and I walk in the rain, and not a drop on me, not a drop at my feet, things like that. All of us have got the same identical capabilities.
I think it's a matter of accepting it as a reality is the first step.
Yeah, except, like I said, you have to learn to unlearn, to learn. And that's pretty difficult, raised in this world of disobedience to God. And especially with all the different denominations, all the different types and styles of religions, all entrapping a person to, we are the only way, and no, none of them are right, and yet all of them have good, every single one of them. And there's some truth in all. And you just learn to pitch out the bad and keep the good and collect that good. And, but anything I do, you can do. Anybody can do. But they have to realize that this is all a dream, and they are the only I am capable of dreaming. Being little G gods, I hope.
Your message for the future and things to come?
Boy, 2012, I'll tell you what's to come. Are we going to turn left or right? Are we going to get right as a vast majority in the world? If not, we're headed out as a civilization as we know it. It's really up to us. We can change the future. Go to the mirror, point at yourself, looking at the mirror and say, I can change it. I can get right with the Creator. Each of the I ams that can do this, and hopefully 85, 87%, I think, do it. And, go to the mirror and do that and start saying that and start accepting it. We do not have to go through it. We put it off for another generation to fall on their face. Our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. We're the NA, Native Americans. We believe we're working for the 7th generation ahead. That means that what we do here now is for 7 generations ahead. And when we pass on, it's a immediate next generation carries that on. It keeps putting off Armageddon, keeps putting off the world's spin. We are living the story of Noah and the ark, Jonah and the well, Babylon, is an example of what it's as big as an event it was, is only an example of our future time, which is right now. And we of Earth are now Nineveh. And we have to repent, and he will not destroy us. He proved it. He said, I'm going to destroy you in X amount of days. And finally, he got the old guy out of the pictures of the monster's belly, and the guy gave up and said, I ought to go and tell him. And he did. And they, as a vast majority of mass, all repented. And he didn't destroy them. But the following generation didn't. And he did destroy them. And that's just an example. That huge event was just an example of us as Nineveh, us that have to repent. Just an example of Earth today. And if we do the same as they did, this Earth called Nineveh, in a sense, won't have to go this way, go this route. Hopefully our children and our great-grandchildren will continue on in a godly way and keep putting it off for 7 generations for the next one that fall.
Well, every ending has a new beginning. With those words, we want to thank you, Red Elk. It's been a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to have you here tonight, sharing your insight, your wisdom, and your vision. Do you have any last words that you want to close this segment with?
Well, I guess it's do not believe a word I say. Check it 3 times. Honest checking. And I have yet to tell an untruth here. All my working life, I have yet to tell an untruth. Oh, I'm kid and stuff like that. But not when it comes to serious stuff like this. But I don't want you to believe it. I want you to check it. Check it, check it. And then if it checks true, then accept it and please do something about it.
Thank you very much for your time, and it has really been an interesting conversation. I'm glad that I was able to sit here and listen to what you have to say.
Well, I said a lot, but thank you, honey.
From the heart and soul of Red Elk, RedElkSpeaks.com. Red Elk, you really spoke tonight, and I feel you spoke from the heart, your heart and soul, and we appreciate it. Great segment, fascinating interview, and we look forward to our next chat.
It's been a ball.
It sure has. You have a good night, and we'll be in touch, Red Elk.
Okay, my brother. God bless. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Red Elk, author of short stories, The Tellings of a Medicine Man by Red Elk. You can get his book now at RedElkSpeaks.com. Thanks for listening to this segment of Spirit Talk. This is your host, Fox, and co-host Kaylee from Spirit Investigators, signing off until next time. And remember, love, light, and unity. God bless.